Hey there, welcome to Plus Talk on Plus Life, where we're about turning positive into a plus. Today, I am joined by DeMarco Majors, Steve Williams, and Eric Valentino. Guys, thanks for being on the show. And today, I thought we'd just talk about sort of the mental side of HIV and coping with it. None of us are doctors and clinical professionals, as far as I know, in that regards. So we're not offering medical advice today. We're just talking about how we have gotten through it, continue to get through it. So thanks for being here, gents.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having.
Yeah. Of course. DeMarco, you were on your way to being, quite the big star in the sports world. HIV came along, but you've had struggles throughout your life, like we all have. How has HIV played on your mental health, do you think?
Oh, wow. Great question. HIV played a very big role in the beginning of being a professional athlete and finally feeling like you've gotten your place in the world and that you're doing something special. And then you're also openly gay, but then you have something that has such a stigma on it. And not just in the gay community, but in the Black community in the United States. So that transition was so hard mentally because I had to deal with not only as a professional athlete, but I had to deal with the Bible Belt of the South. So I had to learn how to really navigate with myself and understand. I just had to understand what meditation, life, and breathing and all that stuff really meant for me. Because as a professional athlete, you get afraid that people are going to touch you, slap you, and then they scratch you, and then something could happen, and it could just blow up into something else. It was very, very, very difficult.
Yeah, Steve, you were on your way to wanting, being in the military. You had kind of a harrowing experience as far as discovering your HIV status and the whole process of getting out of the military. Beyond the HIV thing, how did that whole experience play with your head?
It was I can't even explain it in full words. The only thing I can say was I kind of knew going in when they called me into the hospital. And then you go through the process of trying to understand about what you need to do next and how you're going to tell your parents. And it took me a long time to even tell my parents after I finally got out of basic training.
Eric, what has HIV done as far as your mental health goes, do you think? How do you cope with it?
I mean, now I cope with it fine. I cope with it by like joking around about it, talking with like people about it. It was hard in the beginning. I mean, it was very embarrassing, just the stigma of it and doing like research on it, and that helped me cope with it a lot. Going to groups in the beginning, going to counseling, mental health counseling for the first time in my life. Honestly, I realized in all of that mental health stuff that the mental health was way worse than the HIV for my state of mind, and it's kind of why I became HIV positive. So
that's
looking back at
it. You think that's why? How? What do you mean by that?
Compulsive behaviors, just risky behaviors, doing engaging in stuff like not caring, not having high self-esteem. So being older and being complacent, I was more compelled to engage in risky behaviors than I was when I was younger. Like I said, going and getting tested and finding out that I was HIV positive, I was able to go and do the legwork of getting the mental health stuff taken care of and realizing that that was the stuff that was way more dangerous to my life. Like my compulsive behavior was starting to ramp up and get out of control. So it kind of put me in check.
It's interesting you say that. I think a lot of HIV positive, especially HIV positive gay men, I think we can all sort of relate to that. But I find sort of through my own experiences, there have been moments in my life with my HIV that have led me to the sort of behavior, Eric, that you were saying that HIV saved you from. Do you guys understand? Does that make sense?
It doesn't make
Yes.
sense. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It makes perfect sense. What he just said was literally the catalyst for me as well. And it was that risky behavior that you don't really understand, or well, you understand what you're doing. You're trying to get off. Excuse my language. But I mean, you don't understand what you're doing mentally, and there's so many different avenues that happens when you're doing such behaviors as a gay man because of society and family and friends and everything that you're trying to hold back from. So I mean, that was really on point.
What do you think is more challenging, or is it even more challenging, DeMarco? HIV stigma or mental health stigma?
Hmm. I find that, and this goes back again to just basically my roots, being from Indiana. Mental health has a bigger stigma in my community than HIV did because, in my community, you don't go to a psychologist to get help. You go to Jesus. So you have these different elements that you're supposed to do because you're not supposed to tell anybody your business. So everything that you're going through, you have to solve with, you're supposed to solve, but you don't have the right questions to ask because there's no one around you that can give you the feedback that you need. So you're sitting there and you're starving. You're spiritually and mentally starving when you have this stigma, the shame, and then you have fear, and then you have trauma. And who's going to help you with that? There weren't any resources for things like that in the in the gay community, because you couldn't talk to somebody that looked like you, so people could not really understand. So the mental health aspect was harder for me than the HIV stigma.
How have you guys sort of helped yourselves to overcome those darker moments or those moments where you struggle? Like, what do you guys do to get through those days or those weeks or sometimes even those months that really suck? Eric?
Well, I try to, if I do get like really lonely or it gets down to me, I try to talk to somebody that, like in the family that I'm close with, that knows my status, like my mom or my sister or my brother or like a cousin. That helps me the most because I'm able to get feedback, um, like verbally, and sometimes you feel alone in it. Even with support and stuff, people can be sympathetic, but it's hard for people to be empathetic. Um, but even just having the little chats, it helps you feel like you're not only getting feedback, but you're also helping enlightening somebody and teaching them a little something about yourself and the virus. So
I like that. What about you, Steve?
Oh, me? I have one of my best friends. I call him literally, and he'll see this and he'll laugh his ass off. But excuse my language. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize for
but
saying ass.
yeah, I have several best friends. I have my parents, specifically my mom, my actual mother. Um, who understands what's going on. She keeps up with me, and even though she's still kind of like a little distant. I have my brother who is constantly with me, and just keeping up with my therapy and my psychiatrist and my social worker. Those are the things that kind of help me. Not kind of, but they do help me on a daily to week to month basis to keep calm, especially now that we're in a pandemic. So it's like,
This little
hey,
coronavirus thing.
yeah, it's like, hey, everything's closer now. I've been stuck in this house for like 2.5 years. Like, now you get to feel what I feel.
By the way, though, I mean, I've been practicing social distancing for about 20 years. This works fine for me. I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
DeMarco, Steve makes an interesting point there because we've done quite a few shows on Plus Talk about people of color and HIV and the stigma particularly associated with that. And a lot of people saying, and to your point earlier, we go to church and Jesus answers all the questions because that's what you do in in your community, in your case. But what happens if you don't have that connection with your family? And, Steve's lucky, I'm very lucky, Eric is. What if you don't have the connection or the people that is your immediate family? How does one overcome these things, do you think?
Well, for myself, I was one of those people in that category. This wasn't something that I was able to go to my family, because when I go to my family, I have to go to them in confidence. Because if you meet people, especially your family, with fear, you'll be met with fear. So I had to do the work on myself. I had to understand, that what was discouraging me. And for me, discouragement meant that I distanced myself from courage. So what did I distance myself from courage? Anxiety, fear, shame. So I worked on those small things first to close the gap, to get to courage, to be able to share that with family and friends, because I had to build that around me, because I was such a transient person playing pro ball and, just whatever my career took me all around the world. So I didn't have people around me. So wherever I went, I had to be willing to be open and be honest with the consequences of sharing that information with people, and be comfortable in my own skin and keep my head up, because regardless of how someone else felt, I got what I needed. I got to share with you how I was feeling and what was going on. How you respond is on you. So I really had to learn and own that part of me.
I think you make a really interesting point there about sort of sharing those things that we hold inside sometimes because we're scared of the outcome. I know for me, even in creating Plus Life, it's been hugely cathartic of dealing with my internalized stigma. What about the others there? What do you guys feel? I mean, it is hard to let stuff out, but don't you find it a huge relief when you do?
Oof. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
So we've only got a few minutes left on this, because these go by quickly. But there are people watching this who can relate to you guys. What's some kind of words of wisdom from your own experiences that you might want to share with somebody who watches this program hidden somewhere because they're scared of who they are and what people might think of them because of HIV?
If I could give, there's one thing I don't like to do is give people advice, but if I could provoke thought, is to really sit down with yourself and write a letter to yourself. And within that letter, see what your mental formations have been, because some of your mental formations have become habits that actually are fabrications that don't serve you. So when you actually sit down and write a letter and share that letter with people that you love and that you respect, they can then read that and they can help you unfold and unpack some of the trauma that you may feel around it. So it's very important to just write and to experience yourself and find your way back to that love. Don't wait for the light at the end of the tunnel, because if you look down, the light is in you. Look at the ground. Look at your feet. Take each step each day. No matter how slow you no matter how slow you go, you will find your footing. You will find your foundation, and the right people will be put on your path for you to get through this, because there are resources, there are people just like this opportunity here. So just write. That's would be my biggest thing to provoke thought in people. Just write.
I like that. Eric, what's a little pearl of wisdom or that you want to share that might help someone out?
I would just say let the fear in. Don't let it consume you. And then get it over with, and be proactive, not reactive to the situation. Go full force, educate yourself as much as you can, so that way you can educate other people around you to help, and you can do your part to be a good citizen, as much as you can learn about the disease and about your own health, the better you'll be in life in general, regardless if you have HIV or not.
Knowledge is power. Another reason why we created Plus Life. Steve, what about you?
I'm gonna piggyback slightly on what Eric said. I'm a big Lost fan, and when he mentioned about letting the fear in, I just remembered that whole thing about Jack saying he let the fear in for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it was done. And I want to piggyback on that just a little bit, so I apologize. But also, what I want to bring to the table is that, what really helped me and the people that I met who had HIV after I found out I had HIV was not just letting the fear in, it was also an understanding of you are not to be ashamed, period.
Mm.
And, it took me a while. I had been with Smile Sexual Minority Youth Assistance League, and I had learned all the, how to be safe and everything like that. And I still end up with HIV. So it was kind of like when I first got it, it was kind of like, okay, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. But, when you find out that you have it and then you start realizing and you start meeting people who also have it, you start realizing you should not be ashamed. And I think the only thing that I can give, and I'm going to cut it off, but the only thing I can give is just like, don't be ashamed, don't be embarrassed, don't be afraid, even to tell someone you're gay. I told someone that I knew for God knows 10 plus years for the first time that I was gay. And he's like, yeah, I already know. He's like, and I was like, yeah, I know you already knew. It's like, I was like, I was afraid to tell you. Same thing with HIV. Don't be afraid, because in the end, is like compared to the coronavirus where I can get it airborne, we can all get it airborne. This is something that, you have precautions and measures, and you can take care of yourself and take care of others. The end.
Wise words from three wise men. Steve, DeMarco, Eric, thank you so much for giving up some time to talk with us and sharing so candidly and honestly with us on Plus Talk about issues that, sometimes we just don't feel very comfortable talking about. So I really appreciate your time. That's going to do it for this episode of Plus Talk on Plus Life. Remember, you can follow Plus Life across all social media platforms. We are at Plus Life Media, and you can visit our website, pluslifemedia.com. Until next time, see ya.